Hello, everybody, and welcome this evening. We're just waiting for a few more people to join, and then we'll get started. Before I introduce our guest this evening, I just want to do some Zoom housekeeping quickly. For those who don't know Zoom, it's pretty simple. Peter and I will be doing the chatting, and I've made you guys all muted, so you can't speak right now. At the end of our chat, we will allow you to unmute yourself and ask questions. If you guys want to ask questions, you can also type questions in the chat screen if you prefer to do that. If you want to put up your hand, there's apparently a button for that too, so that we know that you have a question. If you want to speak it, that is, but you can just type it. And we shouldn't be much more than 45 minutes, Peter, although the challenge with Mr. King is always that we can talk for hours and hours. So welcome, Peter.
Natasha's waiting to get in. Can we let her in?
Oh my gosh, admit. I'm sure I disabled that thing. Let's see.
She's sitting in the, there we go.
Oh, there we go, everyone's in.
Cool.
Okay, great. So a little intro. Peter and I have known each other for a little while. I had the privilege of living with you and Kerry when Josh was really young in the UK for a few years with Baron. And
15 years ago.
Yeah, wow, 15 years ago already. And, you know, dove right down the rabbit hole of personal development work and coaching and training. We helped Peter put together courses and workshops and learned a massive amount in those 2 years. Forever grateful for that experience. One of my most prominent mentors, I could say, in my life, Mr. King. And continue to work together. I mean, you've also done some work in our business, in doing some trainings for people there. And I know Baron's done your coaching course too. So maybe as a way of intro, to just give us a 2-minute overview of what you really do day to day.
Day to day. So it starts around about 4:30 in the morning.
Early riser.
And
yes.
I gather myself, I do a bit of meditation and make some notes and reflect on what's going to happen in the day. And then it's usually back to back from about 6:30 in the morning till around about this time, unless I'm doing training. And if I'm doing training, then training starts at 6:30 and goes on until 9:30. And then I fall over and we start all over the next day.
So when you say back-to-back coaching?
Yeah, back-to-back coaching, one-to-one. And I think the thing is that, you know, people say, well, what do you specialize in? And I think for me, it's got to do with life. You know, I work with people that are, you know, CEOs and right top of their field, you know, people with, somebody recently has a company he's wanting to go from 900 million pounds to $1 billion. So we've decided we'll do that for them. So, you know, it's all of those different things. Yeah, I mean, we just go for it.
So for those who don't know, I mean, what is your perspective on what a coach does?
You know, I think the thing about a coach is they first hold the space. How can I say, you know, the reason why we would go and see somebody like me or somebody that I've trained is because they want a non-agendered kind of approach, someone who's going to hold the space, be incredibly present, and reflect that person as well as possible. I think that's about, you know, in a nutshell almost.
So like a bit of a sounding board for people to uncover really what it is they want and how to get there.
Yeah, it's not only a sounding board. I think it's the idea, or part of the idea is to pull that person into presence themselves. And you know, the way I see people is there's the conscious part, there's the subconscious part, and then there's the being. And you know, my interest is being. And so I'm always looking to see, well, who's the being? Because often that subconscious programming is up to nonsense. and the conscious
Often,
part
always.
doesn't know. Eh?
Often, always.
Yeah, well, often always, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so it's, I
Um,
mean, because you obviously have some pretty advanced training in how to bypass that subconscious garbage, so you can uncover what it is, the being of that person.
Follow my eyes.
Oh,
What?
there we go.
No. Yeah, I mean, I think, the years of study and research have got me to a place where, we can clean up things that a lot of therapies take months and months. So, and really quite quickly. So,
And I think that's quite an important thing to people to get. Like, if you're wanting to achieve anything in your life, if you're relying on just yourself to do it, it can be very challenging. I mean, you have limiting self-beliefs and patterns and life getting in the way with content consistently. So having someone who can kind of hold your hand, hold you accountable, give you some inputs. I mean, this is where coaches are phenomenally important.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing there, Peter, is that, a good coach will see you. And whereas, often our partners or our friends or colleagues, they're so busy with their own garbage that they don't see. When we were talking in the group last night about how people con people, and I said, if you're really, really present, it's very hard to be conned. And so, for me, the principle there is if I can get people to be with me and connect to themselves, they get to move forward very fast. Because they get a sense of self, and then it's like, okay, here we go. And for me, it's a very exciting thing to see them come out to play, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Being able to let go of that garbage conditioning for even just an hour, so that your being can come through, is a profound experience.
I think that for me the fascinating thing is that obviously it's not happening at the moment in the room, but often people will come, even their first session, and they walk out feeling lighter, and they go, why is that? Why do I feel better? We've only done a tiny bit of work. And I go, well, actually, you and I have been working a lot harder than you think. Because I'm making them, supporting them to be there, to be present, and to connect to themselves.
Which is perfect for the next question. I mean, this conversation series that I'm running is called Conscious Conversations. What does the word conscious mean to you?
How long was a piece of string? Hours?
You got 5 minutes.
I think, I think most people, unfortunately, spend a lot of time not being conscious. So the statistic seems to be, and how do we prove this? But on a good day, people are conscious for half an hour a day, on a good day, if they're not aware that they should be conscious. And that consciousness is often when they're doing something relatively new. So if it's Groundhog Day, which is what's been happening with Corona and stuff, people are just kind of going even more unconscious, which is scary as hell. So consciousness to me is having an awareness a deep awareness actually of who we are. There is being conscious, and that is actually awake, but a deeper awake, more deeply awake, good English, I think, is someone who is conscious of how it is for them. And I think, that is really a big deal, because most people aren't. They're not even aware. I say to people, values. What are values? And they go, I don't know, my Porsche, my this, my that. It's like people aren't even aware of what's important to them. So, getting them more conscious of their values, their beliefs, their foibles, so yeah, I better shut up now.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. When you say people are conscious for only a small part of that, I know Dr. Bruce Lipton talks about this all the time, where for the rest of the time, people are just automatic pilots. Their conditioning and programming is running the show. It's like when you drive to work, you have no idea how you got to work if you think about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So which is scary, because if people are that unconscious, what do they miss?
Mm.
And for me, life is about being present.
Mm.
And so I think practicing that presence is a very useful thing. Often Kerry will come to me and say, "Where are the keys?" And I'll go, "Oh, if you go down and turn left, and somebody put them there." So like, how do you know that? So, well, I passed by there 3 hours ago.
Well, we'll definitely get into some techniques and tips that people can use to get more conscious. I'd like that to be a chunk of it. But I mean, what's amazing in chatting to you is that in this time of the world being turned upside down, which I think is such a fascinating opportunity for people to review their lives and to get more conscious. You're on the front line, talking to people all day long, with what people are having to deal with. I mean, what is the sentiment out there? How are people coping?
I think for me, some of the people that I've been working with for a while are coping really well. The new people that are arriving, the reason they're arriving is because they're coping badly.
Mm.
And what I find fascinating, and it's feedback from, at the moment I'm running those 2 of the coaching groups. And the general agreement is that had they not done that foundation work, they would be coping a lot less.
Okay.
Because they really they're getting to see A, themselves, but B, how other people are engaging. And for me, that is just, it's awesome that, they can be in that place where they're managing. And I think, as just now, people aren't coping for so many different reasons. And it's scary because half the time what they're having to do is confront themselves or their partners.
Well, I mean,
or their kids.
that's what I've been thinking. People are stuck at home with their partners. They usually only spend a few hours within a day, and the kids are there, and there's no help for cleaning the house. Like, what an amazing pressure cooker to get all that stuff out and to actually start communicating at a deeper level.
Yeah. And unfortunately, there are other people that are stopping and going, why am I with this person? It's scary. And why am I with myself? The mental health issues, I got a statistic the other day, suddenly 4.5 million people in the UK have registered as having a bit more of a challenge, which is kind of, I think there was 6.5 million, and now another 4.5 million have just registered like that. Wow. It's like, whoa. And the reason is, I really think, is because they're having to confront who they are. And the problem there is that they see it as scary, and I don't see it as a scary process. I actually see it as quite a liberating process if they can just cross over that divide and go, actually, so yeah.
Yeah, and I think for me, a powerful word. Well, in business, they use pivot all the time. I've heard it consistently over the last few weeks, but reframing is a bit more of an NLP one that we would use. When the life always throwing you content to you, and how you deal with that content, how you internalize that content, and how you let it affect you emotionally is going to have a radical impact on the results that you get and how clearly you think going forward. So one of the things I'd love to reframe in this conversation is this new normal. Like, what can this new normal be? Rather than people just being terrified all the time, how can people delve deeper into their motivations for life and see this as an opportunity and actually, get connected to that being space a bit more?
So someone was saying how I come up with a word for the new normal, and I think we should change the new normal to embrace the change.
Okay.
Because change is the only constant in the universe. And people hear that and they go, "What?" It's like, actually, it's change. And we sit and I need to be certain of this and certain of that, and what about the other? And the reality is that when we know ourselves better, we cope with change better. And I think that is the best antidote to the new norm. Which is change.
Sure, so much there. So knowing yourself better. I mean, where do people start with that? They're stuck at home. They might not be going to work.
You know, I think the first position there is actually to get curious. And, if we go back to when they were, knee-high to a grasshopper, when they were tiny, often the kids were discouraged from being curious because, mum and dad were busy and little Johnny would be running going, why is the sky blue? Mommy, why is it orange? Why? And, mum and dad would be going, shush, shut up. I don't know why the sky is blue. Go and play, And so they were very much discouraged. I think we are born curious, but a lot of people get it knocked out of them. And that's where we have to start, is asking questions. And if we're not getting decent answers, then asking better questions. Because the true statement is the quality of my life is completely dependent on the quality of my questions. And it's such a truism. So one of the things that I teach is let's ask better questions. And how we ask better questions is to have some basic insights as to how things work. Because if we don't know how things work, then, well, how do we know to ask better questions? And I think, in that instance, if you don't know how to ask better questions, but you need help, then go find a coach.
Okay.
And hopefully they will ask you some good questions.
So, I mean, better questions, practically, I mean, that sounds like a good dose of self-review, particularly in the situation we find ourselves in now. I mean, do you recommend some kind of writing process, taking a bag of mushrooms and going in a dark corner?
Okay. Well, I mean, both of those could work for some people. I think. Depends how big the bag is. No, but, yeah, so I think there are so many things you can do. But the first question is, what do I want? What do I actually want? I'm sitting here. What do you want? So I will always say it to a client, whether I'm on the phone or in the room or whatever. It's okay. Hello, hi. How are you doing? So tell me what's going on. And what I'm really saying is, what do you want? And they go, well, it's this and this and this and this and this, and off we go. And really, all I'm saying is, tell me what you want. Oh, tell me more. Tell me more. Tell me more. And they do. And then, because they get a sense of what they want, you can start to shift those ideas and beliefs. Yeah. So,
Sure.
I mean, the classic question for some people who are so clueless or feel they're clueless is, if money were no object, but you had to work, what would you do for 6 hours a day? As in, had to work, as in, because that's part of life. Work is good for us as far as I'm concerned. Although I don't believe I've ever worked in my life. But anyway, that's another.
When every day of work is play, you'll never have to work another day.
There we go, yeah.
We'll get to play later. One of the things I found in my life, because I do a review every month on what I want, linked to the moon phase, Baron and I both do it, is the more you ask the question, the deeper your answers become. Initially, the responses can be very superficial. Oh, I want a thing or a toy, or, whatever society says that you want because that makes you so-called successful. So, what are the deeper things that you find people come out with? I mean, the things that really get into the being part of the person.
Love, connection, certainty, recognition. I think in this situation we're finding ourselves in, people aren't being seen. I mean, that sounds crazy. We might have a family of people in our home, but if everybody's so busy running around doing their own thing and no one's being seen, that is a big problem. So being seen and being reflected, and most people don't realize how important it is for someone to see us and reflect us. And I think, it's part of the reason why people gather in a community setting. Because, if we didn't need to be seen and reflected and given an idea of giving us feedback, actually, if we didn't need that, then why would we all gather as groups? And you ask anybody, put them on their own by themselves for 3 or 4 days, and a whole bunch of them will be climbing walls. And because they don't know what to do with themselves. Personally, I think this would be a great thing for me. I think I was, but the trick there is that when you don't know how to see yourself, you need other people to reflect you. And so when you start digging down into what's important, how I'm going to manage X, Y, Z, then you start to see those elements coming out. But most of the time, you do really need someone to reflect you. And I think until that happens, we find ourselves at a loss. But questioning is, I think, for me, the big one. And if you can have a mate or a friend or whoever to have, a backward and forward meaningful conversation. I mean, if we go back to the UK where, you and Baron would sit down and you'd ask questions and I would just reflect your questions backwards and forwards, and suddenly you were like, oh, that's how it works. Oh, okay. But you kind of need to be heard. Someone needs to hear you.
Yeah. I mean, I still use it to this day. What I learned many years ago, the secret to the universe is Q. Leave no stone unturned. Question everything. And it can appear exhausting, but wow, there's definitely golden diamonds under some stones if you keep turning them up.
And I think the other thing there, Peter, is that with the questioning, we recognize that I mean, you know this to be true for yourself, but the more we question, the more we tend to grow. And for me, the fundamental principle, 2 commandments in the universe, just 2. I mean, and some people might go, hey, but in my world, 2 commandments. One is grow. And, when you've done a whole bunch of growing and you're feeling really cool, go and have some fun. And growing is really about endeavoring to be more of who you are. In whatever way. And, that's why kids, when they fall down, I mean, your girls, you would have seen this over and over. They fall down, they bash their knee or whatever, they tears for 3 minutes, you kiss it better, and they're off going again. Why? Because everything's an adventure. It's all so exciting. Whereas I think as we become adults and all-knowing, we shut that down. We shut that curiosity down. Not a good move.
But, I mean, that's a great point. Actually, to see that questioning coming from a place of childlike curiosity.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think, to be a grup, what I call a grup, is a problem. Because grups are, they're very boring. Grup being an adult, grown up.
What more exciting question can you have for yourself? What do I want? What do I really want? What makes my heart sing? What brings joy to me? I mean, wow, people should be asking those questions all the time.
Absolutely. And, the thing is that when you ask every day, you will get different answers. And, a different day will give you a different insight. Well, today I want to go up a mountain. Tomorrow I want to do this. And yes, of course we we usually want to work and do other things, but what's going to nourish me today? Besides this food business, most people will eat, at least a couple of times a day. Fair enough. But they forget to nourish the being. And that's when it starts getting really mad. You're not feeding me. And then it goes off and causes chaos, which is like, whoa, hang on a minute. And they do things like have affairs and go crazy and do wild stuff and, lose the plot and, con people, whatever, just to keep the sort of excitement going, I think. Yeah.
So I suppose something that came out of that is, I don't know how many people even recognize that they have the permission to have what they want. Because we're so conditioned from childhood that you can't do anything unless someone gives you permission.
Yeah. And that's the fascinating thing, is that if you have someone that is non-agendered and is holding the space for you, and they ask, well, who needs to give you permission? Either they'll say, this person, that person, the other person, or will you give me permission?
Mm.
And you go, well, I don't need to give you permission. All you have to do is go, I think I could do that. And they go, oh, really? Yeah. And off they go.
Mm.
It's phenomenal. I do think it's got to do with this whole idea that, teachers and parents and ministers and, religion, all those things, is this hierarchy. Well, we better be careful because, if we don't do it right, we'll be in trouble.
Mm.
But the truth of the matter is that they can't give us permission. The first lesson, if you like, principle that I teach on the coaching course is the free will principle. And I've had people literally fight me. No, we don't have free will. It's like, why? Well, because I have to ask my dad. How old are you? 35. Really? Seriously?
Absolutely.
And suddenly when they realize that actually they get to choose, change their life just like that. So, yeah.
I was going to say that, I mean, and going back to conscious, unconscious, it's a choice, and it's a conscious choice. You have to make that choice, that you can decide, you can choose what you want.
Yeah. But I think people don't even realize they can.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So, and that's why the questioning and being questioned or challenged is so useful.
And then I suppose the other part of that, which I think is keeping so many people stuck right now, is fear. Because obviously anything new, you're terrified that you're going to mess it up. That I suppose, that you're going to be disproved of by the people around you, your parents, that you're going to die, I suppose, eventually. So, dealing with mistakes and dealing with fear.
So for me, the fascinating thing is that I teach this idea that, the more present we are, I suppose you could call it mindful, but bizarrely my idea about, the mindfulness movement is actually, I think we should be mindless because thinking is the booby prize. So I think, in the situation where the more present we are, the more in touch we are with what I call being, the less afraid we are. The more we're sitting in our programming, the more afraid we are. So if people are afraid, as a general trend, it's because they're coming from their programming. They're not coming from their higher selves, their true selves, whatever you want to call it. And I think, one of my passions is exactly that, is getting people to connect to themselves so that they are not afraid. And, if you're walking and you suddenly feel fearful, it's like, hang on, I'm running a program. And there are tools and techniques of how to get present, align yourself, and, move forward. So if afraid, then not present. If present, you can't be afraid.
I mean, that by itself is, we've hit the cherry on top, I think, already for this evening, because that's so practically, useful in people's lives. If you find yourself in a state of fear, the first question is, what's going on?
Yeah.
I'm not connecting to myself here. A good dose of know thyself is the antidote here. Go within, find out what's going on.
And the thing is that the difference is fear is not love or empathy or whatever. So if I'm doing fear, I'm not coming from a good place. And if I'm doing presence, I must be coming from a good place. And that's just, it's kind of as simple as that. And when people hear the simplicity of these things, they kind of go, what? And I'm forever saying the work is simple, because it is.
Mm.
It's always been, and it will always be. And I think we just love to complicate things. And it's just, it's not like that.
Mm.
Um,
And I suppose that then leads me into something else you're often talking about is responsibility, that it's our responsibility to make positive changes in our lives. No one's going to do it for us. I mean, a coach can assist you by reflecting maybe for you a little bit, but how do you perceive that word?
Okay. It's respondability.
Okay.
Because if I'm coming from my programming, it's reaction. If I'm coming from a state of presence, I respond. Very different. I kick the dog, it bites me. I kick the human, it kicks me back. Yeah. That is a reaction. But the ability to actually respond, which is supposedly our God-given right, we are able to do this, and most people don't. So if we're sitting in, I couldn't help myself. Programming. And so for me, responsibility is, how do I respond? Because if I respond, I'm probably going to behave more appropriately than if I react. And so, yes, let's get more responsible. But I think that the thing is that the more aware we are, and the more on purpose we are, it's not even about, I've got this responsibility. You are it. Because you kind of know what to do when you are present or more present.
And to recognize in that moment, if your response is coming from a place of fear, you're not going to give it its best shot. You need to actually take a break. You need a pause before acting.
Yeah, I mean, you remember my famous acrostic, STOP, STOP, see the optimal see the optimal possibilities. And that is just really, most people are just going. And I said earlier, I'm up at 4:30 and I'm stopped, meditating, contemplating, reflecting. That's stopped. Then I'll have a client, maybe 6:30, 6:30 to 7:30. But after that, I'll stop again and reflect and get back into me, or more into me, and then start again. Because what most people do is they carry their whole day with them. So they fight with their wife, and the rest of the day is crap. Oh, sorry.
No problem. We're 18 now.
No, they fight. Do you know what I'm saying? They have a fight, and in the morning, and then it's terrible all day.
Yeah.
If they just had if it's a disagreement, fair enough. Have your disagreement, stop, reflect, clean it up in your own mind, then you have a good day. And the same with, and I say this to you, I'm very clear about when I'm working with these high-powered execs who think they know everything, which is interesting. I say, why are you so stressed? Oh, I'm just so busy, one meeting after the next. Okay, please can I ask you for 10 minutes between meetings? Make your assistant or your secretary 10 or 15, I prefer half an hour, but you're not going to give me more than 10 or 15 minutes. And they go, why? I say, so that you can stop, put that meeting down and pick this meeting up. And they're like, huh? And the ones that do it, life-changing. It's as simple as that, where they just sit and they do some breathing, perhaps some square breathing, or just even breathing for 5 minutes, preferably eyes closed. What happens is they go, and they put the one thing down and they're able to then pick up the next thing. And if more of us were able to do that, we would, less arguments, wars, fights, disasters would be happening.
Physiology first. I love that, because the breath is so powerful in linking you back into your body and getting you out of your head. If you're bouncing from one headspace to another headspace, you never have time to just drop back into presence.
Yeah. And I mean, it makes a massive difference. Just that. And this idea of going from one Zoom meeting these days to the next Zoom meeting no, you'll kill yourself. So, or any meeting for that matter.
Yeah, far more dangerous than Corona.
Absolutely. Yeah, because the immune system is down, and then you get sick anyway. But even, and this is going to sound awful, but even, parents and children, and parents and partners, if they are constantly with each other, they're not taking moments to decompress, that causes problems because it builds up. There's no stop. Unfortunately, I had a client I spoke to this morning whose partner's mother had a heart attack. Why? Because she was looking after her son who was wanting to kill himself 24/7. She was hardly sleeping. And eventually she just keeled over.
Sure.
How awful. I mean, it's just happened now. And because she didn't take a break.
So that then, leads us to cycles and balance, because you need the reflection to give you a sense of what it is you want and what it is you need. But then you also need the break so that you can internalize that and you can sense those possibilities.
Yeah. And, I think the other thing about the cycles is us humans think we should always be up. Why? We are cyclical. I mean, at the moment it's bucketing down with rain out here. And how grateful am I? And so it should be. I said to someone, go for a run in the rain. And they went, what? I went, it's so refreshing. It'll be so much better for you than just having a run, in the dust. And I'm like, oh. So, and so if we are cooperating with cycles, my gosh, we are so much better off. And recognizing we are cyclical, and paying attention to that, not just trying to sort of override it with all sorts of whatever, things, drugs, I don't know. Whatever.
In a sense, honoring your state, really, whatever that state happens to be.
Yes, and you know what? Let's say I'm feeling low, and I question that, I can shift. I say that, even as probably back in when we were in the UK, I used to say that, and you can think about this for yourself, that I would never be down for more than half an hour. Why? Because it's not nice. So I would go, I'm feeling down, reflect, and start to come up again. Would I be on top form? No, not necessarily. But I wouldn't be feeling like hell, because mainly I respected the cycle, looked at it, engaged with it, and allowed myself just to come up a bit, not to go woo, and so yeah.
And there's another word you touched on there, which was gratitude. That must play a large role in managing your state.
I think if people, I say to people that if they can connect to gratitude and really be grateful for what they have now, they will be more abundant. And they go, what? But I haven't got any money. No. But the thing is that if I'm grateful for what I have, then my energy shifts. And if my energy shifts, I am probably going to be more positive. If I'm more positive, I'm probably going to create more opportunities or possibilities. So the little technique that I teach on the course is to do past gratefuls, present gratefuls, and future gratefuls. What? Past, as in when I was a kid, what was I grateful for? But my dad always used to beat me. Okay, but did you survive? Yeah. Oh, okay, we'll be grateful for that then. No, but, there are so many things that we can be grateful for. So many. So if I can think about one or two things I'm grateful for in the past, one or two things that I'm grateful for now, the fact that I can sit here and talk to you is a very good present gratitude. I'm like, this is amazing, you know. So present gratefuls, and then of course future gratefuls. And future gratefuls can look like affirmations. But fundamentally, if I'm grateful for something that I'm wanting to achieve, I start to manifest, I start to create it. So gratitude directly equals abundance as far as I'm concerned. The more grateful you are, the more abundant your life. And people look at that and go, yeah, whatever. But I mean, if people just tried it on for size, one of my English coaches that I was teaching, she said, I apply the gap. And I said, what? You know, like mind the gap? And I said, no. She said, no, apply the gap. She says, so the gap for her to bridge the gap is gratefuls, affirmations, and being present. And she said, it has changed the way she engages with our whole life. Every morning, she does her gratefuls, what she calls her gratefuls, her affirmations of the things that she's trying to build on, and being present. And she basically gets present, does her gratitudes, that which charges her up. It's like a vitamin. For me, gratitudes are like mental vitamins. I mean, we're big on vitamins and things, and rich superfoods. So those are mental vitamins. Gratitude is mental vitamins. And then affirmations, of course, are also very vitaminized. Good word to fill the vitaminized.
I remember years ago you suggested doing a daily practice, and committing to that practice of making a list of gratefuls. And it's amazing how if you start your day with that, it's just so powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's part of that early morning ritual for me. What am I grateful for? What am I grateful for? And there's so many things, and there can be little things. The fact that you've got light, the fact that you can walk, the fact you can even see. A lot of people don't have that possibility. Sounds crazy, but
For sure. And I suppose that leads me on maybe to our closing point, which with Q, the other side of Q for me that I really have used so much in my life is a statement you always say, which is that the universe works. Because I think for so many people, the experience of life is just that life is out to nail them and get them, and everyone's out to nail them and get them. And again, it's probably just an experience of childhood where that's really what goes down. But, getting that as a belief system is powerful.
I think, when people first hear me say the universe works, and, I will say it, particularly in the beginning of any course, universe works, and they all look at me like, and I say, the more congruent we are, the more lined up we are with ourselves, as in beingness, the more we connect to ourselves and then cooperate with ourselves. The more we do that, the better the universe works. Like, what? Well, how it actually is the universe is always working. If we are cooperating with us, we are more aligned with it. And for some people, that's still a bit confusing. But fundamentally, if we are doing the best we can with what we have, then as a general trend, things are always working out. And when things aren't working out, and we're doing the best we can, then it's probably an amazing opportunity to learn or change or do it differently. So the number of times people have come back to me and said, Peter, the universe just works.
Yeah, because if your belief is it doesn't work, well, then you have no power. You're an absolute victim. You can't change anything. That doesn't sound like fun at all.
Yeah, and we're part of the universe, so why wouldn't it work? And it's only not going to work if we're messing with it and ourselves. And we are part of the universe, and if we're messing with ourselves, which we do, then yes, no, my universe isn't going to work, and I'm going to be, if I'm out of integrity, I'm in trouble. So,
So it really brings
Yeah,
about a level of acceptance for what is. And when you accept what is, you can do something about it.
absolutely. Yeah.
Hmm.
Every single time. And I remember, kind of learning that thing about first you have to accept what is before you can do something. It's like, hang on a minute, you're telling me I've got to accept this stuff. I was going to say a naughty word. Accept that stuff, and then I can do something about it. Yeah, but hang on, it's not nice. Well, if you resist it, it'll keep being not nice. But if you accept it, then you actually start having power. Because it's like, well, that's what is. Now we can work with it, as opposed to trying to resist and push back. And Peter, I'm very concerned. I can't see that you've got any arms. I've been doing this.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think we've nailed most of the things. I think if we do any more, our heads might explode. Maybe the last point, you said that life should be a process of learning, or could be a process of learning and also fun. So how much fun are we actually allowed to have, Peter?
I think the thing is if we grow every day, we can have as much fun as we like.
Sure.
Because if we nourish ourselves every day, then actually life becomes fun. If we're not nourishing ourselves, then life becomes really grotty. I mean, and so for me, that's the imperative. And, that's why, the coaching course, and, that's why all of that stuff. And, the first module of that course is all about personal growth. It's all about your own development, your own understanding of who you are. Because, if anybody wants to be a better manager or a better partner or even a coach, guess what? You've got to have a sense of you first. And the more you have of you, the better. So
you're saying growth doesn't have to be consistently painful and uncomfortable.
Okay. Okay. I mean, this is not necessarily the best note to leave it on, but the way I like to believe life should be is you butt up growth and fun as closely as possible. And then what happens, especially if I'm working with clients, if you are, and coaching, if you are growing and you're having fun almost simultaneously, you don't feel the pain. Because growing is a little bit painful. Sorry. Because it's new. But the moment you get it, it's like, and everybody, once they've got it, once they've mastered it or got it to the next, they are so like, wow. But, if you know it already, it's like, yeah, whatever. I mean, remember when you first learned to drive? Yes. Now you get in the car, you're like, whatever. No, and it's the same thing. So I think life is about that. And for me, I think that's why people are afraid of growing, because it is a little bit painful. But if you come play with me, it's fun too. It needs to be fun. I think it needs to be fun at the same time. So you kind of, you do that fun and growth. And, Kerry always says, I don't know what you do in your office, Peter. So I said, what do you mean? She says, there's so much laughter that comes out of that place. I always wonder what you get up to. Well, you got to play. And when people are playing and growing together, best thing.
Yeah, I mean, sure, I've experienced this so much in my own life. You think you're growing when you're hammering at your problems and your issues consistently over and over again. And maybe if you just laughed a little bit, you'd repattern some of that garbage and actually experience life as a more light place.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but I mean, unfortunately, growth is, if I could find a way of growing without any pain, well, I'd be probably a trillionaire.
Hey,
let's not do billions. Let's just do trillions. I'm not driven by that. But if people could grow, and if they knew they could grow and they enjoyed growing, and there was no pain attached, this world would be a whole different place.
Well, I hope you figure it out, because we need to give Gates a run for his money.
Yeah. So there we go.
So
Cool.
let everyone know, where they can find you. I mean, you do coaching courses. You've been chatting a little about it. Where's the best place to find out what you do? Get in touch with you. I mean, the one thing people need to realize too is that if they want any coaching with you, they've got to wait like years because your diary is booked up so far in advance.
Not so bad. Depends on how urgent it is, Peter.
Okay.
Always nooks and crannies that I dig up. 4:30 in the morning, and I mean, we find places. But where can they find me? Peter. Well, I think peterking.coza. I'm there. It's a relatively new website, and it talks about coaching there. It talks about one-to-one stuff. So yeah, I think that's probably the easiest one. If they want to email me, then it's just peter@peterking.coza.
Courses that you run?
Courses. At the moment, I'm running 2 coaching courses. One is coming to an end now. And the new one starts at the end of July. And what we've done is we've decided this time, because it'll all be on Zoom, because of the situation, we are going to just run module 1, and then whoever wants to go to the next module, then can go and they can carry on going to do all 3 modules. So module 1, and that lasts for 6 months. And it's a very thorough grounding in you. And the things that we've worked with over time. It's all that sort of thing. There's values and there's boundaries and there's points of reference, and on and on and on. And it really, for me, it's the basics of life, and you can take it as deep as you like, or you can take it just on the surface level. And the fascinating thing is that people who have done the course, when they come back to revisit, which is very common, they go, "Wow, I've got it at another level. I've got it at another level. Wow, I thought, I missed that bit." So yeah.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah. So there we go.
So not to get carried away, because I know that this can run for hours. If anyone does have any questions right now for you, let's maybe take 5 if there are that many. If we did a really good job, maybe there won't be any. And not pre-framing that or anything. So you can either type your question, or you can ask your question.
Peter, Tracy did one of the courses that when I was in England, and I came back. Do you remember that time? Hello, Tracy. So yeah.
Tracy says the best thing I ever did in my life was the discovery course so many years ago. It's been the glue in my life. Thank you for this talk. Nice to remember again.
Cool. Hello, Tracy. Sure.
He also wants to know if you got any recommendations for good books to read. I don't know what kinds of books she's talking about, but I assume in the genre.
Yeah. Okay, so I think the fascinating thing about books, the way I see books, is you really need to go to a bookshop, be on purpose, and let them jump out at you. Because they will. So, there's so many books out there, and for me to say, oh, you should read this or that or the other, I'm very reluctant. But if you're really on purpose, it's almost like they find you, you find them. And I mean, the number of times I've gone into secondhand bookshops, or it's almost as if they fall into your lap. Why am I poking here? And then suddenly there's a book behind there, and you go, oh, that's exactly what I was looking for. So for me to say, oh, read this, read that, I mean, there's so many, and there's so much out there right now. So sorry to disappoint.
There's someone saying, Julie says, the universe has your back, Gabrielle Bernstein. There we go.
Yes, that's a good one. Yeah. I mean, there's so many. I mean, what can I see here? Search of excellence. There. I mean, yeah. I mean, we can go on for endlessly here. The stress code.
What did I recently read? That was great. Dune. Wow, that was deep.
Yeah. So yeah. Okay. I mean, I literally, you could go. You could come to any. There are hundreds of books in this room. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Sorry.
Anyone else? Mary says, doing this course, could this be good to do for me rather than sitting across a desk for years? Just feel I've lost myself somewhere along the loon line.
Oh. Okay. So
I think she's maybe kind of asking, like, instead of, doing coaching or therapy for years, is the course a great kind of shortcut maybe to that?
I think it's a brilliant shortcut. If someone wants to find out about the course, besides me telling them, I will just give a random set of numbers of people who've done the course. And they can chat to them. And often I'll get a coach going, so-and-so phoned me. I go, oh, and? Said, yeah, and they were asking about the course. I'm like, yeah, I gave them your number. Because I think that I'm in awe of the course, actually. I mean, I really am. And, even when Tracy was saying there about discovery, those intensives also, Peter, I mean, you remember them. I was also in awe of those because the amazing thing that the people can do if you just hold them well enough. I think people that have done courses have really shifted their perception and really kind of, I mean, of course they've grown, but they run their lives better. I mean, there must be someone on there that can say something about the course.
Yeah, Montana she just said, this brings back so many memories. I enjoyed the course so much. Exclamation marks. What a growthful and fun time. In awe of it too, Peter. And I mean, I couldn't sing his praises enough. I mean, I'd instantly recommend anyone do your work. It's just they never regret it. It's such an amazing.
I mean, the thing that I enjoy is that it is fun. I mean, Montana. I mean, it's laughter, it's fun, it's growth, it's interactive, and even now we're on Zoom at the moment, and we've got people all over the world. We are still really dynamic and interactive. It's live. And people break into different rooms. I mean, they're having fun, and what a pleasure they should be, because I'm also having fun. Is Harriet there?
Yep. Says she's on a course with you.
Oh, okay. That's all she said.
That's all she said. We hope it's good.
Oh dear. Yeah. Awesome.
Okay, fantastic. I think that's pretty much it. Oh, there we go. Harriet says she loves it. She doesn't want it to end. Well, luckily the 3 modules. And then, after the 3 modules, I believe people can then assist on it. So it pretty much can carry on forever.
Yeah, you can assist, you can help, you can do module 4 if you want, which just takes everything up to a deeper level. You can do module 5 if you want. Wow. Growth is an ongoing thing, Peter. We know this. And for me, the fascinating thing is that people often will feel quite. I mean, the group last night, we hadn't seen each other for 2 weeks because they had a break. So they, and they're like, it's been so long since we've all got together. It's like, well, so yeah, I mean, I love it. So, and I think
if I recall, in my experience of those courses, it's a family that's developed, having an opportunity to be with people who are open and questioning and learning and not non-judgmental, with the content that you provide. I mean, it's a very rare experience in life.
Yeah. Well, I mean, thank you, I think. Rare. It's like, but yeah. I think, I don't know. Is there anybody else that can give us some feedback on this course?
There we go. Natasha says in the group, and anyone's welcome to reach out and chat about it.
Oh, okay, there you go.
Alexandra says she says, best course. Thank you, Peter. Highly recommended. Oh, look at that.
Interesting thing with Kate, actually, by the way, she had, before she came on the course, she'd done, I think, at least 2 other coaching courses.
Mm.
And I remember saying something to the effect of, and she can correct me if I'm wrong, because she's there. You know, I wish I'd found this course first. She was like, oh, I'm sorry. Just like, yeah. So anyway.
That's fantastic. Well, Cindy says it's the perfect foundation to understand self and yourself.
Oh, wow. Cool. Well, thanks for that, Cindy.
And Kate agrees. You quoted her correctly.
Okay. Cool.
Fantastic, Peter. I had a lot of fun. Looks like you had some fun too.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I mean, if you want to do this again, Peter, I'm sure we can have some other, if people want to, I don't know, have a topic that they want me to talk about, I'm happy to do that. I don't know whether that would work for you.
For sure.
But if we do, you know, there's all sorts of things out there. I mean, if you remember the at-home lectures, I mean, let me see if I can get this.
Yeah, we used to try and cram like 20 or 30 people into your lounge. Now you can just zoom it all over the place.
Can you see that?
Oh, yes. Oh, very nice.
Remember those?
Oh, yes.
That was what Mark gave me, because he attended all those lectures,
Wow.
those workshops, those lecture workshops. So I thought it was really cool of him to do that. But yeah, sorry, let me just, I know I'm supposed to be sitting and talking to you.
Yeah,
You know,
we can still hear you.
There we go.
Okay.
Here we go, I'm back. There.
Yeah. So yes, thank you so much for giving us your time this evening. I know that there's not a lot of that available, and you know, if anyone does manage to get some time.
This is easy. I mean, you know, I mean, well, actually, I'm supposed to be doing another course, so yeah. Anyway.
Fantastic. It looks like everyone's saying that'll be amazing. We can do more of this.
Cool. Okay.
So my Conscious Conversations carry on too. Next week, I'm chatting to David Avocado Wolf, who some may know. That'll be on Wednesday at 7 p.m. on the 1st of July. So if you guys want to join, get on that. And if you get onto our Conscious Conversations page on our website, I think it's superfoods.com/conscious conversations. You can see past replays and who's coming up on the list. So we're busy recording, and I will upload it, and it'll be on that page. So if anyone missed it, if you've got friends and family that think they can benefit from what we spoke about here, they can come and have a look at it again. And yeah, thank you all for joining us. It'll be great if...
Oh, Peter, just that quick one.
Yeah.
If people did want to get involved with that course, they need to let us know soonish. Only because you know, it's a month away, and you know, there are people sort of coming at me going, when's it start? So yeah, if they do, I mean, I'm not saying, you know, I'm not. Yeah. Cool.
Fantastic. No, that is a very good point. They do fill up. So I think just to finish off, I'm going to unmute everyone, and we can all just say thank you and goodbye, so we kind of know that we actually had some people in the room. I can see some of you. But,
it's not pretending.
No, exactly. Thank you, everybody.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yay. Have a fantastic evening, everyone. Thanks so much,
Thank
Peter.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.